Good morning and welcome to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Colvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group. Thanks for listening this morning. Feel free to give us a call at 612-504-8400 or visit us online at havenfinancialgroup.com. There's all kinds of retirement tools, our calendar of events, all our educational events, and we like to do a lot of them because we think education is important. Kim, good to be with you, and we're going to talk about what else than a government shutdown. How about it?
Government shutdown, not particularly an uplifting conversation, that is for certain. But, I think it's really important for people to understand how a government shutdown affects them. We've had a number of them through the years, some of them lasting a lot longer than others. And this most recent has certainly been one that has been longer than anybody would like for it to be. But I think, Larry, and you would agree, I'm sure, that retirees, need to be cognizant of what's going on, as we all do. But really, this is a good subject for those who are in retirement.
Yeah, there always should be an awareness and understanding of what's going on. But I draw the line in the sense, to some degree, be careful with how much news you absolutely absorb, because it can be overwhelming. It can cause people to panic and do things that maybe aren't so good when it comes to investments and some of those things. But again, awareness and understanding, so very important. These shutdowns are not anything new. You mentioned it very well. The most significant shutdown was a 35-day shutdown in 2018 and 19 under President Trump, caused by a dispute over the borders, expanding borders, U.S. and Mexico. And there was also a 21-day shutdown with Bill Clinton, opposing major spending cuts, and the Barack Obama administration, a dispute over the Affordable Care. So nothing new, but it's just something else that can, cause stress and stuff with the markets, although the markets have been fantastic. But people should, again, just be aware and understand how it affects them.
Let's take a look at what we'll talk about this morning. We're going to talk about what these are and why they end up happening, these government shutdowns. We'll also talk about government shutdowns and how they affect Social Security and Medicare. I think that's two of the most important things, certainly when we talk about retirees and the impact it could have on them. Potential market impacts, of course, after government shutdowns. And then finally, some of the pitfalls of hasty decisions in uncertain periods, which really goes to Larry's point. It's best, I think, for everybody to sort of ride these things out, because they are cyclical. They do happen. Obviously, as they drag along longer and longer, people maybe get a little more concerned. But we certainly have seen them happen many times. And so they are not uncommon. But let's get started just talking about what these government shutdowns are. You mentioned a few of them and some of the reasons that there was a government shutdown. This time around, it's healthcare and how it relates to immigration, really.
It is. Government shutdowns, they occur when funding legislation required, really to fund the federal government is not enacted before the next fiscal year. They can't get on the same page. And, unless there's some continued resolution, so agencies have to shut down. They lose authority to spend money is really what it comes down with. And, there's accepted services and there's non-accepted. Well, the accepted ones, which are any work tied to life, safety, property, that type of thing, those will get paid for. But the other ones, they're not going to get paid for. The accepted versus non-accepted services, mandatory versus discretionary. People are worried about their Social Security. That's going to continue to be funded. But there are other things, other agency operations that it supports that are not. So the non-discretionary, parks are get closed, museums in D.C., a variety of things. There's been a lot of them. I think I just saw a study that pay has been suspended for about 1 million workers and 900,000 workers have been furloughed. Those lives are affected. I was just with a client of mine, a new client of mine from Farmington. He's a retired air traffic controller. Well, those folks are still working. They're just not getting paid. So it does affect people's lives. How long this is going to go on for, we'll have to see.
So, Larry, how would you, typically when they do finally come to a resolution, how do they avoid this idea of a shutdown? You said it eloquently, that they just can't get on the same page right now.
Well, the regular order, the House and Senate have to pass something. They have to reconcile, and it needs to be signed off by the House, the Senate, and then eventually the president. Or what the Republicans say that they've already included in this bill is the continuing resolution, which the Democrats say that isn't the case, especially as it relates to health care. So CRs, continuing resolutions, they're short-term extensions to keep the lights on, if you will, and keep everything on at prior levels while they continue to negotiate. Or one that the Republicans have threatened, which is the omnibus package, where they bundle bills to speed the passage when the deadlines loom. So, we're talking politics, get both sides, get on the same page. Eventually, they will. But in the meantime, there are a lot of folks, I think I mentioned it, that there's, about 2 million workers, again, that have been, their pay has been suspended, and 900,000 workers that have been furloughed. So lives are affected, parks and all these different things.
Sure.
But it is the way it is.
Right. Let's walk through, though, what this is not. This is not the debt ceiling. It's not about that. It's not a default of Treasury bonds. It's politicians not getting along or not negotiating.
It's exactly what it is. You said it right. It's not a debt ceiling. It's not about paying existing obligations. Shutdowns are about authority to start and continuing discretionary spending. It's all about the spending. One side wants to spend it on this, the other one wants to spend it on his. They try to come to a happy medium. What I'll say is, though, even throughout this government shutdown, the stock market remains high. We are setting we've set several record highs this month. So the good news is the market is sustained, the economy is still strong, and it's not all doom and gloom, but eventually the shutdown does have to give.
Sure, absolutely. And as we mentioned, the longest shutdown in history was in the first Trump administration, 35 days, which is a long time. That's a long time to ask people to go without paychecks. We're going to talk a little bit more about how this can affect a retiree. But right now, as we just talk about, workers and those who are being affected, it seems to me, Larry, one of the biggest effects on just individuals would be the idea that if TSA workers don't get paid and folks like that, that starts to have a real effect on, because obviously airlines are not flying the way they normally would at regular schedules, and that becomes a real issue.
It does. We all want to get paid for our services. And eventually they will when it gets settled. But if in the meantime, they're working for free because their pay is being delayed. So it affects that, and some other things that it affects. It reduces government revenue. It reduces economic growth by disrupting major services. Just in 2013, there was a shutdown, and I read that the Standard & Poor's said that cost the economy about $24 billion, which is a lot of money. And that shaves off the growth for that particular year. So this has after effects. This affects people's lives, but it's not something new. And it's been happening for years. In fact, it dates well back to the 1980s. And there's been many shutdowns. So again,
Sure.
Time will tell.
Right, absolutely. Well, we're talking about the government shutdown and how it may impact retirees. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Social Security and Medicare and the impact that those two payments out might feel if the shutdown would continue and when there are shutdowns. A quick reminder that if you hear anything this morning that you have questions about, you'd like to speak to the folks at Haven Financial Group, they'd love to hear from you. You just give them a call at 612-504-8400. That's 612-504-8400. 8400. Tell them that you heard us here on the radio. You'd like to come in, sit down, talk with the experts there about what we're talking about this morning. Certainly talk to them about any kind of retirement issues or any kind of financial planning. That is how you get hold of them. When we come back, Social Security and Medicare, that's on tap.